Module 3 contains information regarding the importance of reporting hate and the findings of research that was completed in conjunction with Coalitions Creating Equity on the experiences of people who reported hate crimes and incidents to organizations in Edmonton.
Importance of reporting. The most essential tool we have in responding to hate is our ability to report incidents when we see or experience them. Without reporting, individuals, organizations, and society as a whole are unable to effectively address issues of hate, racism, and discrimination when they happen. It prevents justice and accountability by creating a culture of silence around the realities of hate. Reporting allows us the ability to respond. This can be through formal reporting mechanisms like law enforcement and government, but also through informal reporting mechanisms like nonprofits and community groups. Reporting not only connects victims of hate with support, but it also encourages others to seek out those reporting mechanisms. However, when we encourage reporting, it's important to be aware that there are real and serious concerns from people who are deciding whether they want to report. There is the concern of potential retaliation from perpetrators of hate. There may be resistance from law enforcement, from family, from community, or from the workplace. There may be language barriers, inaccessible places to report, lack of transport, or inaccessible technology to use those methods of reporting. We need to be mindful that there are legitimate reasons why someone may not report, and that reporting may not be an option for everyone. We can still work to connect people to mental health supports and community safety resources. In the end, every incident is unique and requires an individual, thoughtful response.
We recently carried out interviews with 18 people who had reported a hate crime or incident to organizations over the past 5 years. Participants in the study had different hopes when they first decided to report their experience of a hate crime or incident. These hopes included stopping the harm facing themselves or others, seeking justice, and raising awareness about the issue so it could be documented and addressed. When reporting to the police professional standards branch, or a professional regulatory body, participants hoped perpetrators would be investigated, held accountable, and recognize the harm caused by their actions. Participants who reported to these and other organizations identified hoping for advocacy, support reporting to the police, guidance, financial aid, and assistance with mental, physical, and housing needs. It is important for us to understand these hopes so that we ensure the support we provide meets them. However, we cannot assume what individuals need after experiencing a hate crime or incident. Therefore, we must ask them and plan our responses based on their needs. While reporting hate crimes and incidents is important, as Istihar said, reporting experiences may not always meet the needs of survivors of hate crimes and incidents. In our research, we found that how organizations respond to reports of hate crimes and incidents does not reliably meet the needs of people victimized by these occurrences and can significantly impact survivors. The responses participants hoped for, as we just discussed, were often different from the ones they actually received. These responses are summarized next, with services that met survivors' needs discussed separately from those that did not. The actual responses to these reports of hate crimes and incidents that participants received were more complicated. Organizations often responded in ways that did and did not meet survivors' needs. Sometimes a participant reported to multiple organizations and staff before their needs were met at a minimal level, if at all. In scenarios where participants were most satisfied with the organization's response, responses included being listened to, believed, taken seriously, and not judged or shamed. The organization addressed the matter promptly and was victim-centered. Organizations gave participants encouragement, guidance, and support while providing regular and ongoing follow-up. Responding organizations provided participants access to safety planning and appropriate services or referrals, including mental and physical health care, housing, identification, and legal assistance. Non-police organizations assisted participants in reporting to the police when requested. Still, they did not pressure participants to make further reports if they did not wish to. Police responded promptly, took statements, and believed the participant. They worked to find the perpetrator, made decisions in collaboration with the participant, provided regular follow-up, and made referrals to internal supports like victim services. In some cases, perpetrators were apprehended and held accountable in ways that incorporated the participants' wishes. When responses like these happened, participants identified experiencing several feelings. These included feeling satisfied, grateful, hopeful, listened to, relieved, and increased confidence in responses from organizations and the reporting process. In addition, they felt safety for themselves and others, that they were not alone, and that they could keep going. However, many responses also had negative impacts on participants. Such responses included being ignored or disbelieved, being discouraged from reporting, and facing discrimination and disrespect in a culturally unsafe environment. Participants shared that responding organizations laughed at and victim blamed them. Organizations told them their experience was not serious enough to justify a response, or that what they experienced was not a crime. Participants regularly received no or little follow-up, or delayed responses that took months or years. Reporting procedures were sometimes complex, demanding, and inaccessible. Some organizations were unaware of appropriate referrals. Participants faced confusing staffing changes, mistakes, disorganization, being sent back and forth between services, and decisions that did not align with their wishes. Due to responses from organizations that did not ensure their safety, some participants faced harassment from those they filed complaints against. Perpetrators were not investigated or apprehended. When participants filed complaints about professional conduct, the ways organizations responded seemed to protect the subjects of the complaint as opposed to the survivor. These negative responses had a range of emotional impacts on participants, including anger, anxiety, confusion, defeat, depression, disappointment, doubt, and frustration. Negative responses impacted participants' beliefs, including a loss of faith in authorities and the reporting process, and a loss of pride in being an Edmontonian. Others developed beliefs that Canada is unjust, they are not valued, and that justice is not available to them. They further began to perceive that they continued to be unsafe, and that those who perpetrated hate crimes or incidents could do so without facing the consequences of their actions. Negative responses also resulted in behavioral and psychological impacts on participants. Some participants abandoned their reports altogether. Physical and psychological impacts from the original crime or incident remained untreated. Participants experienced re-traumatization, financial losses, online harassment, and suicidality. Our participant shared their experience and hopes for ways organizations can improve, saying, "I'd like them to know what it feels like when people feel just disappointed. I want them to know that we don't feel heard. We just feel defeated. And it's just a huge disappointment. Who cares about us?" It is important to keep these realities in mind when we encourage or help people to report a hate crime or incident. We must do our best to ensure that timely, consistent, victim-centered, and evidence-based services that address systemic gaps are a priority. Ultimately, we should try to make sure that the positive experiences I talked about earlier happen for survivors while taking all steps possible to avoid negative reporting experiences, especially considering their significant impacts.